Hey everybody, welcome to Morning Glory Farmstead. My name is Lolly and this channel is all about gardening, animals, and nature. And it is still way too cold for me to be outside doing this, so I'm inside again. But there's a lot to think about and learn before the planting season starts, so this is a smart use of our time together. Now, a couple of quick housekeeping items. I'm not a Greenstock affiliate, but they did give me a link for $10 off your first order, and that's gonna be in the description box. Also, I have some playlists, and this one's gonna be in the Garden Basics and Tips playlist that I've started. And lastly, along with my chickens and roosters, I have several dogs and cats and have been helping rescue cats and dogs for 7, almost 8 years now. So there will be animal related footage and tips incorporated into all of my videos. Now, I got a couple more Greenstalks a few months ago and I kept the boxes because cats love boxes and these are sturdy. I just tape the top so that it stays closed and then I cut a hole in the side, and sometimes I'll connect a couple of boxes together. The reason I'm putting them out now is because cats are heat seekers, and although they have cat trees and their go-to places for sleeping, my house has felt colder and draftier than it ever has because of how cold that it's been outside, and it's easier for them to warm up in a small space. Now, you know, cats won't outwardly show their pain and discomfort, so you may not even know that they're miserably cold or uncomfortable or in pain. If you have an older cat or even a dog, the cold could really be hard on them, causing aches and pains in their joints or bones. So that's just something to keep in mind. But in general, cats enjoy any kind of dark tunnel or cave-like structure to hide in, sleep in, or even to set up some calculated surprise pounces on their buddies. All right, if y'all have made any homemade contraptions for your cats to play in, tell us about it in the comments below. You may have some helpful ideas for other folks watching who have never done something like that, and I bet their cats would be super grateful. All right, in this video, I'm gonna tell you what I see as the most critical factor or key to a successful garden, and then I'll share 7 strategy and self-awareness questions that you can ask yourself before you start your next garden season, because answering these will positively impact your garden experience, all right? Gardens want to give you the results that you're looking for. Something beautiful to look at, something that smells amazing or tastes wonderful, and each season they start fresh, it's a clean slate, and then all too often the relationship starts to get strained. Gardens make an effort to do all they can to give you clues about what they need. They withstand drought from too little water, drowning roots from overwatering, starvation from lack of nutrients, attacks by all sorts of predators. They start to rot because they haven't been harvested in time. And then at the very end of their life, they're still giving you the gift of their seeds so that maybe the next time things will turn out a little bit better. Now, in my mind, the biggest influence over whether or not a garden will succeed, or the biggest key, is the commitment of the gardener to the garden. Now, that may sound like common sense, but you guys, it's oftentimes that common sense goes right out the window. We forget. The most successful gardens are usually the result of a healthy partnership and relationship between the garden and the gardener. And that's no matter how big or small the garden happens to be. The garden is committed to the relationship, but I won't see the results that I want from my garden without nurturing it. And I'm going to talk about what that means in the next video. Now, of course, things happen every season that we can't control, like extreme pests, horrible weather, bad seeds, contaminated soil or compost, and even our lack of experience. So there's no guarantees, but there are certain things that we can at least be aware of and committed to that may increase our garden's chance of success. Now, gardening scenarios are very similar to many other situations in life where we start out gung-ho and then we fizzle out. And we really do have good intentions, but if we're not diligent, things can start to unravel. And I want to just share one of 1,000 ways the garden success starts to unravel, and then I'm going to give you some things to put in your arsenal that might help you avoid the unraveling of your garden experience. Let us know in the comments if you can relate to any of this, or if you've had a fizzle out experience in the past with your garden, whether small or big. Janice bought wood and built her raised garden beds, which turned out beautiful. She spent a lot of money on tools and supplies, and she got over 2 tons of mulch, compost, manure, and garden soil. She bought cattle panels, 45 T-posts, and in getting all caught up in the possibilities of what she could grow, she bought 75 packets of seeds. She got her garden all put together, she planted all her seeds, and to her amazement, the seedlings were popping up everywhere. And in 6 weeks, everything started looking strong and healthy. There really wasn't a whole lot for her to do during that time because there was plenty of spring rain and it wasn't time to harvest yet. She was sending pics and videos to everybody because it was so abundant, and she was still doing life too. Now, as she got a little further into spring and inching towards summertime, she would harvest some here and there, but she started getting busy. She was a little bit less enthralled with her garden too, and what she really wanted was just to sit and relax instead of getting out in that heat and harvesting the food. And she knew that once she harvested the food, this was going to lead to even more work. Washing, freeze dry, dehydrate, bag it up, can it up, not to mention eating greens until she turns green. She was rethinking the whole garden thing because she had overcommitted. This is key. Her schedule was so busy with other priorities. She had a day job, they had recently taken a family trip, kids needed help with school projects, she was still taking an evening class for professional development requirements at work. So there was no time left because she had to study. Then the veggies and greens started to get overcrowded. The weeds were growing up, insects had moved in, the soil was depleted of nutrients, and the leaves were turning yellow and shriveling from the heat and not enough water. Janice looked out the window one day and saw that most of the garden was close to dead or going to seed. The last few months were a blur. She remembered all the spring rain a few weeks back, and she had watered it when she could and had plenty of sunlight. And she thought to herself, gosh, I don't know what happened, but it really didn't do as well as I thought it would. Maybe it was the seeds I bought? Anyway, the moral of the story is to think about your level of commitment. Not just how much you can't commit, but how much do you want to commit to? All right, let's get into some self-assessment questions, all right? These are going to help you gauge how big of a commitment you really want to make, as well as what the overall purpose and goals are for your garden. Now, these questions are not to discourage y'all from growing a larger garden. They're actually meant to help you get some strategy in your garden planning to ensure that your garden is an appropriate match for you and your lifestyle so that you can remain committed and see those fabulous results. I have a visitor in my lap. This is Cedar, and I call her Seeds. But anyway, as I've said before, I'm not an expert. These are actually questions that I thought of and asked of myself as I was looking towards the next growing season. So if you find them useful, that is fantastic. And if you've already thought of all of this and you are ready to go, then kudos for already setting yourself up for success. All right, hey, before I forget, you guys hit that like and subscribe button before you head out. That is so helpful to the channel because it increases the chances of me getting this content out to others who may need or want to hear it. All right, number one, are you going to be sharing your garden with someone? Are you flying solo on this, or do you want it to be a family effort with your husband, your wife, your kids, maybe even your friends? It is great to be self-sufficient and grow for yourself, but if you have a close family or awesome network of friends, I encourage you to try it out. Even having a small community garden of some sort on your property may work out really well. Just make sure that everyone understands the commitment and expectations, all right? Now, this can also be a way to lessen the costs and divide up the labor. And there are people who want to grow gardens and they just don't have the room, and they may enjoy coming over to your garden or your property and being outdoors and then leaving with some of the fruits of their labor. And this can be really fun and educational for everyone if you choose the right partners who are all in and not afraid to commit. Number two, how much free time do you have? Do you have time to maintain the garden daily or every other day? Do you have the time to harvest the food when it's actually ready, especially if you're wanting to grow a larger garden? Which leads me into number three. Do you have room to store the produce once it's harvested? Because if you go big, you're definitely going to need to find some room, or at least know ahead of time who you can share your harvest with. You'll also need cans, baggies, containers, or whatever you decide to use for storage. Now, number four, if you've watched my video about how green stalks are saving my life, then you'll know I have physical limitations. So this question is important for a lot of people. Do you have physical limitations like arthritis, back pain, issues with your knees, or anything that might make it difficult when it comes to maintaining the garden or pulling weeds, harvesting food? Because if you do, this may impact the type of garden that you want to grow. And using a green stalk or a raised bed may be easier than having an in-ground garden. Something else to think about along these lines is, can you tolerate being out in the heat? Man, during the summer, it's been getting hotter and hotter each year, and sometimes that heat goes well into the evening without much of a reprieve, depending on where you live. Number 5, what are your goals? Are you just experimenting for fun? Is it just to learn a little bit about gardening? Do you want to try new healthy foods? Are you wanting to grow 50% of your food? Really think about what you want your garden to do for you. All right, number 6, are you going to be gone on vacation or on any business trips that'll keep you from your garden during the times that require maintenance or harvesting? And if so, who can you delegate those tasks to? And finally, number 7, have you made a list and calculated the cost if budget is an issue? Because all of this is going to add up, whether you're new to gardening or maybe you want to go bigger. Soil amendments, garden structures, supports, trellises, watering systems, containers, seeds. Maybe you already have some things that you can use, but maybe you need some additional items or supplies. How much do you want to invest in this? There's a lot of other questions that you could be asking yourself, but this is a good start. The point is to match your garden endeavors to the level of commitment that you feel you can keep. This way you can actually enjoy the experience without the garden becoming a burden. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. Y'all leave some comments below, and I will see you real soon in the next video. And until then, y'all have a great couple of days. Bye-bye.